Okay, and welcome to the post-match review of tonight's game. Under the floodlights, always an impressive sight, but game didn't quite get over the line. It was a tough battle 0-0, of which I think we dictated play against a team that came here for a point and looked to get us on the break. I think. What was your opinion of the game?
Yeah, I think that's kind of a fair assessment, to be honest. They sat really deep, Halifax. They looked to hit us on the break. They had the Southwell and Edwards were absolutely rapid. Obviously they were causing Lawler and Pearson all sorts of problems all game in terms of counter-attacking, but I thought really we were peppering them, and at some points that I couldn't even tweet fast enough for the amount of chances that we were getting. So I found that it's a fair assessment.
Yeah, I mean, we probably didn't work the keeper enough. We had a couple of chances, but there were sort of half chances over the bar. Whereas apart from Mike hit the bar early doors, that was probably our closest on target goal. Our target strike, and it's just those little fine margins. I think teams are starting to sit back against us and nullify that counter attack to a certain extent. But that's to be expected, and that's almost like a respect sign.
Yeah, and to be honest, throughout the season you're going to have to change your game plan over and over. It reminds me of Brendan Rodgers in Liverpool when they went to a 3 at the back and they beat like 3 or 4 teams on the bounce and then teams switched on. So I find that really in this campaign you're going to have 4 or 5 different ways of attacking and different tactics to break different teams down. So against Halifax, maybe a bruiser up front wouldn't work because they're just going to sit so far back. So that's why I think we were trying
to answer a few questions.
Yes.
Mike, get in there and we'll all squeeze up.
I'll have to squeeze up. Yeah.
Come in there. So Mike, a 0-0 draw. Didn't quite get the goal tonight, but you hit the bar early doors. Almost came through against your former side.
Oh yeah. Well, as a striker, sometimes in the game you haven't got enough time on the ball to strike it. So if I see I've got a couple of space or seconds, then I'm just going to look for the goals and strike it. So before receiving the ball, I saw the keeper's position, so I knew it was a 2-touch. I touched one time, and then I was surprised he didn't get in. To be fair, because I saw because he had beat the keeper, but he just hit the post. So
yeah. But hopefully it's a good point. Halifax are up the top of the end of the table as well, and you can see why they're an organised team and look to hit us on the break, a bit like us. So we're going to expect that teams to just sort of sit back, and we're going to have to break them down, particularly at home, I think.
Oh yes, as you said, I played at Halifax before. I know the centre back, the keeper Brownie. They're really tough defensively because that's how they hopefully get something in. But now just gonna take it for the next game.
So next game Saturday. Hopefully we can get 3 points down at Braintree. It's a long travel, so I assume you have a couple of days rest, or at least a day's rest before training, and then travelling down with the team sometime this week.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll be travelling on Friday, but yeah, we're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to to go in there and get the 3 points. It won't be an easy game because it doesn't matter where they are on the table. But in this league, you all know that it's not an easy game. Should it be first or last? It's a men's game, so we just have to get there and be ready to go and win.
Well, thank you, and hopefully we get 3 points on come Saturday, and we'll let you get your rest for now and let you get off. And
hopefully, mate.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. No
worries,
problem.
Cheers.
Bye.
So, Braintree on Saturday. We think it's a strange journey because it's down right in the southwest, isn't it? We're almost on that coast. So, fan-wise, we always get a good following away, and the London Reds do quite. But even for them, it's a big journey.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's in the same ilk of Dover. I'd say it's far. It's a horrible place to get to. Braintree. It's
one of those no motorways across.
Yeah. I've been to Braintree once, and it took ages. So it's one of them places that obviously the players will want to get a lot of rest beforehand, and they'll want to travel there in good time. And to be honest, it's a different environment. It's a small ground at Braintree. It's an old-fashioned ground, so it's all terraced. So it reminds me a little bit of Macclesfield in a way. And the pitch isn't the best. I don't think they've improved it since they were in the league last. So I can expect over the Christmas break they're going to have a few postponements because it's quite it's quite bogs down quite a lot. So expect a lot of aerial balls from Braintree. So really, if Wrexham kind of can deal with their aerial threat, which with Lawler obviously is a big lad, I think they can kind of deal with that well. So hopefully Mike can kind of get a couple of goals there.
Possibly one of the best times to play him while the pitches are still quite firm and haven't got the water on them, like you said. But you just mentioned Lawler. I thought he had a solid debut tonight. Obviously it's big shoes to fill, Manny Smith, although Doug Farms had a great couple of games there as well. But that extra experience that maybe he brings to the squad and allows Doug to continue his development.
Definitely. Obviously with Guiseley, he's going to be, for 5 years he's been peppered really, because obviously Guiseley didn't have the... They've always struggled, so he's had to be in a defence where they've had to nick 0-0s or 1-0s home and away. So he's come from a defensively solid unit. He went to Fylde. He obviously didn't get much game time, and then Salford. So for him, he kind of wants to prove himself, I find. And for me, I think he's an established centre back in this league. He's 27, but he's been around for ages. I find now he's been here for about 5 years at Guiseley. So. For me, I think he's an excellent addition. He needs that rotation, obviously, with Manny being injured. I think maybe you've got Brad Walker as well, who can play in the defence, and you've got Tham. I think with Tham, he is just a little bit too young at the moment. There's some of these. You don't want him to kind of be tainted by league appearances against like Danny Wright and that can kind of put a lot of centre backs off. Yep. Whereas you want to still go through his development and kind of get him game time. Whereas if you chucked it,
manage the game time rather than having to drop in the deep end. Although I think he's done very well in all his appearances so far. I think right back and centre back, but against some, like you said, Danny Wright is a prime example of a difficult striker to defend against. But Sam said time and time again, it's a squad game. He certainly doesn't mind shuffling the pack, and he certainly doesn't mind if the players available that he thinks can add to the collective or improve the collective. He doesn't mind bringing them in. So tonight, another difficult one to pick a man of the match. I know the sponsors went for Sean Pearson, I believe. I think the Calon FM man of the match was Mark Carrington. I know we had a bit of a chat before we went on air, a few of us. I thought Akil Wright had a great game. What about yourself?
Akil Wright. I think there were chances where especially Edwards was running through and Akil Wright caught him every time. And he's just that presence that's kind of unnerves strikers. He's always that person that's just behind them and he can nick the ball off. And everyone played well tonight, I find. This was one of them strange ones because, to be honest, they sat back so much we couldn't really break them apart. If a team comes here for a point, I think Wrexham just needs to find another way of unlocking them, but at the same time Akil Wright kind of stopped the counter-attacks.
And has Sam perhaps found his position? Obviously, he was started off as a defender and earlier in his career. When he was at Barrow, he played on the wing. We signed him and he looked very much like a box-to-box midfielder, someone who broke up play and drove forward. But this defensive role, he still has that ability to break forward, but he seems to discipline there. I think he's done really well in the midfield for Wrexham this year. Yeah,
and I think as well, with the midfield communicating, Summerfield sometimes drops into that hole and lets him charge on. I found that actually with Lawler in the second half. Lawler had a lot more licence to roam forward, and Akil will drop down into a centre-back where obviously he can just cover for Lawler. So I find that it's very fluid, that midfield, which is what you want. You don't want somebody who's just rigid to one position, because it leaves you open then when obviously if teams can exploit that, they can see that one player doesn't want to move, then they'll just move.
I think that's brought down from the top. I think Sam's got that fluidity about his team and developed the covering positions and multiple, not having to be that all the time, but if someone goes forward, then there's a natural progression of where you drop in. You can see there was some patterns of play, some one-touch passing, particularly in the first half. Rakeel Pike has also mentioned on the match. He had an excellent first half, I thought.
Definitely.
But some of the one-touch passage of play, we looked really comfortable. All players involved in that.
No, definitely. And there was a lot of one-touch passing that was something you'd see in higher divisions and higher levels. So I think there's a lot of positives to take from it.
Yeah. Well, it's another clean sheet, and we're far more attacking than we were last year. So it's still positive. Great start to the season. Join us for that all-important 10th game, when apparently managers are judged after 10 games in charge. So it's a good place. But the first 9 have been an impressive start so far. So join us for that. And if you're travelling down to Braintree on Saturday, have a safe trip.